But as the writer of Hebrews, he begins his epistle. He talks about that. He says, God, who at various times and in different ways spoke in time past to the fathers by the prophets. This is what he's done. He has in these last days spoken to us by his Son, whom he appointed heir of all things. He had been sending prophets, and men of God and so forth. Now he sends the heir. He sends him his Son, the Son himself, through whom he also made the worlds, who being the brightness of his glory and the express image of his person, upholds all things by the word of his power. Isn't that awesome? It says that Jesus is the brightness of God's glory. We're talking about Jesus coming, being sent as the true light that came into the world. That true light was if you saw Jesus, that was the brightness of God's glory, right? The true light, which gives light to every man who comes into the world. In the same way that Jesus, the eternal Word, John tells us not that Jesus was a God. He didn't say in the beginning was God, or was the Word, and the Word was a God. He doesn't say that, does he? He says that he was God. He was not a God, one of the gods or something, little g. But he was God, singular. Jesus was not a light of the world, but he was the light of the world, singular. He wasn't just one more guiding light among many others who had already come before him. In him alone was life, and the life was the light of men. But do you know what the sad reality of Jesus' day was? John 1:5. Here's the testimony. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it. Isn't that sad? Mm-hmm. Jesus is the light of the world. In him was life, and that life was the light of men. And he's shining in the darkness, but the darkness did not comprehend it. And you go down a little bit further in John, he says, chapter 1, he was in the world, and the world was made through him, and the world did not know him. He came to his own. That's the coming. That's the advent. He came to his own, right, in his first coming, but his own did not receive him. And in John chapter 3, we have one of the most famous personal encounters with Jesus in the Gospels that we're ever going to get, when Nicodemus comes to Jesus at night, right? Why does Nicodemus come? He's trying to make sense of the brightness of God's glory that he had been witnessing in Jesus' life and in his ministry. Rabbi, this is what he says to him. We know that you are a teacher come from God, for no one can do these signs that you do unless God is with him. Nicodemus was witnessing the brightness of God's glory, and he's trying to make sense of it, and he comes to him, and he's like, nobody could do these works. We know you come from God. No one could do this unless, God was with him.